be sure to taste the thickness of their hide, by golly. And we are back, and here's Hugh. He's putting stuff in his ears so he can hear.
Beans?
Okay? We're beans, right, beans.
Yes, and we have the...
and now Jeffy is on. And
check.
And now
check.
Brian is on.
I'm testing our microphone here.
That's going to be the phone. I don't think they're going to need it myself. What kind of band is the Howell, anyway?
We are a punk rock band.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, that's what I was telling people.
In the classic sense of the word, So
these are punk, as you may not have heard it if you're under the age of 30.
Yes, heavily inspired by the Ramones. And this is a sad week for the Ramones. So
I was always a big fan of the Ramones. I liked a lot of their pieces.
In fact, since Tommy, the last original member, died, we're going to do one of our Ramones songs to wrap up the set today.
Cool.
And Brian has an interesting story about how this Ramones thing played out.
On a website I found, they airbrush all of the deceased band members off classic rock album covers, just to show how many of our iconic artists are gone now. And anyway, right after Tommy Ramone died, somebody posted a picture of the first Ramones album, the one where they're all in their leather jackets standing against the wall. They have them all airbrushed off the cover where it's just that blank wall you're looking at. And it was really moving to see that, because, like I said, that's one of the most iconic punk bands ever, and they're literally all gone now. And
it is weird. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that long ago, or that there should be that so old that they're gone. For various reasons. I mean, they're all that is it. I hadn't seen that, but what an interesting way to do that, to show you how many people are not here anymore.
Well, and the punk scene was basically around 1976 to the early 80s. So, and the Ramones were right there at the start, playing at CBGB's in New York, and the Pistols, and so we borrow from that classic retro taste.
All the ones that I liked.
Yeah.
I liked the old Sex Pistols. I liked the Ramones. There's something about the driving sound of the Ramones that I always thought was...
And so, with the band today, we've got Brian, who's been our guitar player since 1993, and then sitting in for only the third time is our buddy Lin Ruby on percussion.
Yay.
Lin Ruby is here.
And I think this would be a good time, then, to go right to Lin Ruby on tape from the last time he was on the show. It's been way too long. I think it was back in 1947.
That's about right.
That's about right.
That was the year you were retiring, weren't you?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I was retiring from the state about that year. Here he is.
Yeah. All I can say is, this is the most fun. I got to get a bunch of these. I mean, for the radio, if you not to have a duck call and a goose call and all of that stuff.
If you're real careful with it, you can use it as a lead instrument.
Oh, give me an example of how you can do this with the...
like some slow, sleazy blues here.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds terrible, but who cares?
That's the best blues I've heard in a long time.
Okay, we are back.
And you will be interested to note he has one in his pocket.
I should have known.
An Illinois boy never goes anywhere without his duck call.
Sorry, I had a duck in my throat.
If I made those kind of noises,
done.
you guys would have to leave the room.
Oh, we're used to you making those kind of noises now. Don't worry about it. But that was a strange moment.
Yes, that was.
We have many strange moments with the Howell and with our friends from this particular band, which I sort of think of as the band of the flyover zone.
Okay.
And that's an honor. Seriously.
We like live music.
We like live music, and we like the Howell. The Howell does original stuff in an original way, and they're I've always liked the Howell.
Is it okay if I actually say what your playlist is going to be?
Better you than us, because we'll be in a trance by the time we're starting here.
The first one, I just wish I'd brought some of these today because we're all going to want to be doing this. It's eating donuts. So, we've been known to bring donuts.
And that's our new song. We just wrote that a year ago. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Misanthrope is number 2. Number 3 is Equator. That's easy enough. Number 4 is Would I Know My Own Mother? And there may be some question about that.
Equator with what?
And number 5 is Bipolar Manic Depressive Horror.
That sounds like a...
And they've added 6 because this is a Ramones tune. I just want to have something to do. Don't we all? I mean,
I just want to be sedated.
And I know I've read those, really, as square as it gets.
You read them as a white person can read them.
I know.
Only a middle-class white person can read like that.
And since Lynn has pulled out the duck call, I've got to play this thing now. It's not very long, so pay attention.
That's a crock pot.
That's a crock pot. I bet you didn't bring that.
No, I think you had that. That was yours.
That was, I'll never forget that you came on the show and you brought a crock pot just to prove that you could use it as a percussion instrument.
Yeah, that's how I grew up, beating on things
yes.
at home and driving my parents crazy.
Yes, I have my niece has a son who does that and drives everyone nuts, but it's...
Well, that's how drummers work.
Cool.
I mean, my mother knew Barrett Deems, the great drummer from the 40s.
I've heard of him.
And when he was in Springfield, it would drive people nuts because he would go... Kahn's Restaurant, I guess, was his favorite place to go. And he would sit there and bang on the cups and bang on everything all around him, and it would just get worse and worse as he continued. He would start out just tinkling on the cup, and he'd be beating on the plates. He'd be beating on all kinds of stuff. And they just finally have to ask him to leave because he was just beating the crap out of all of their materials. And food would occasionally fly up. But he couldn't stop. I mean, he was just constantly at the rhythm.
That's I think...
So a lot of people would come in to watch, but then they'd have to throw them out.
Percussionists, I think, are probably born... And they're born needing to do that.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do it in kindergarten.
Sure, absolutely.
And my parents said, "Oh, he's got musical aptitude," so they bought me a clarinet.
And you took the clarinet apart and started.
I might as well.
I played the clarinet for about 15 minutes.
What is it about the clarinet? I mean,
I don't know. It's a standard.
People give children the clarinet. Nobody wants to play the clarinet.
No.
Except you're Benny Goodman, you want to play the clarinet, but.
So now, Brian, did you know you always wanted to play guitar?
Oh, yes. When I was 3 years old, my mother used to take guitar lessons, and, I was always fascinated by her guitar. In fact, a few years ago, Mom was cleaning out a closet, and she found that old acoustic guitar, and it's on my guitar stand at home now.
So
good.
What kind is it?
It's a K.
Is it like the dark-colored...
Well, this was one of the 70s ones. It looks kind of like a Gibson Hummingbird knockoff. I mean, to be honest with you, most people probably just consider it a cheapie, but to me, that guitar started everything, and then when I was probably about 10, I tried taking guitar lessons from this so-called hip guitar teacher. I kind of learned the backwards way. They tried to show me how to read music and all that. Well, finally he comes, he goes, "I got something cool for you." When I saw it was Culture Club's Karma Chameleon, I'm like, okay, I'm out of here.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
I remember my very first guitar was a Silvertone archtop.
Oh, those are cool.
It was a pretty cool, guitar for just a standard guitar. But that's the first thing I learned on. And that's the only guitar lessons I ever got were from an old jazz guy at a house of music. And he worked with me for probably about a winter, and then he just said to my mother, "Well, I've taught him everything there is. I can't teach him any more than that. Just let him go." and let him play, because he's already out playing me on some of this stuff. And so rather than making me more social, it made me more antisocial, because I was writing guitar music all day.
When I was in high school, I took lessons from a guy. Now, keep in mind, I graduated in 1990, so at one time I had the long hair and the ripped jeans. The whole hair, they call it hair metal now.
Yeah.
And, the guy that I took from, looked like he could have stepped off of, Poison's tour bus. I was into that kind of music then, so of course, he was showing me what I wanted to learn, and,
right.
After taking from him for about a winter, I just kind of went off on my own. I've learned probably as much from just jamming with other people, and, I play primarily by ear. I know all my notes on my fretboard and all that, but as far as the reading music part, it was never necessary for me.
You know what? I got one word for you. Sibelius. You can pump the music in. Sibelius pumps the notes out. It's not really absolutely necessary that you know how to do that. You just MIDI it in and play, and it'll all come out. So I highly recommend it.
I'm not saying people shouldn't, learn as much about their instrument as they can, but to me, making some kid endure all those old school Mel Bay guitar lessons is kind of like trying to make you learn to read before you learn to talk, Yeah,
I had some passing familiarity with those.
The scales.
The best way to learn your instrument is to play your instrument.
Exactly.
Practice. And, if you really love your instrument, that's not a hardship. You'd probably rather be doing that than a lot of other things. So.
Play what makes you happy.
Right.
Because if you're happy when you're playing, you're going to emote that.
Yeah, and that'll make people feel better about what you're doing, too.
Yeah, and I want to give a special thanks for Lynn, who's actually filling in for our regular drummer today. Oh. So I want to mention him. Clark Taylor has been with the band since 1993.
92.
Or 92, yeah.
So,
thanks for the correction there. So, and he's a postman, so he couldn't come in on the early shift today to play for us. So Lynn's filling in for us. So we're grateful to him. So,
but the essence of Howell, in my mind, is just kind of like our radio show. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have a full crew. Sometimes we have people coming from all over, but they're always willing to come.
And you've right. And you've said you've had about 50 over the years, over the 24 years that you've been going.
Yeah, and on your homepage on flyoverzone.com, there's a link to our YouTube channel, and you can see most of the incarnations of the band going back to 1991, including the set with Hugh sitting in with us in the Howell.
I think he was licking a dulcimer the last time he was in a room with us.
Yeah.
You guys just escaped that happening.
It was great, man.
He got great tone out of that dulcimer.
That dulcimer was made by Homer Ledford, he's like the Stradivarius maker of dulcimers.
And you have it strung backwards so that you hold it up.
I can play it over, put a strap on it.
Hold it
Jimi
up
Hendrix style.
The way I'm used to playing anything with this is a strap over it.
Yes.
I had it all set out and walked out and forgot it.
Oh.
Otherwise, you would have been, having somebody kick me out of the view of the camera.
Right.
Yeah, it would have filled a little of the Spinal Tap bass player hole in the band today.
Well,
the curse of the Howl is our bass player.
But the curse of the Howl is the curse of live everything.
That's right.
So the curse of our show is that we can't, always get a crew, but we always get one somehow. And the Howl always manages to get a crew from really fine musicians. So that's why they're our house band.
And the picture of Geoff looking really spiffy, standing next to President Obama before he was president, right?
Yes.
And the reason Geoff was able to get that picture is because as Obama walked up that day to speak at some function, the person with him was a former Howell member. I mean, the chances of it being a former Howell member was pretty large.
Right.
And so I guess Geoff says, quick, let's take this.
Yeah, he was the official photographer, so I'm like, here's my camera, take a picture of me and Obama, and that's how that happened.
It's a great picture.
Yeah, so there's traces of the Howell throughout the world now. We've procreated as far away as
Japan.
Japan, that's right.
Wow.
Somehow there ought to be like a link up sometime for the Howell in cyberspace where you can find where all of these people are around the world, work on a number together, and
that'd
be frightening.
That would be pretty scary.
And
Yeah,
I think
especially if you could Skype everybody in Japan, Soviet Union, Cuba.
You could have the Howell Corral.
The Howell Corral.
Oh, no. Oh, and I don't think we've explained where the Howell name has come from.
I guess we should do that.
Thurston, from Thurston Howell III, right?
It loosely is based on the whole Gilligan's Island thing, and we all used to claim a Howell name, but we've dropped that now with our maturity and age.
Of course.
But it goes back to this friend of mine too in college whose last name was Howell. I won't mention his first name, but he would do clumsy kind of drunken things, and we'd say, he pulled a Howell. So
that's funny.
It became part of that vernacular too. So
wow.
And I already mentioned earlier, this is a very sobering performance for us because we love to drink beer when we play, and so we can't do that this morning. So
okay,
well,
it's time for you to get
how unusual for a group of Midwestern musicians drinking beer. I can't imagine.
No.
It's so unusual.
The thought of that.
So we're going to let the Howell go set up and then blast the studio out.
We're going to try to start right at 11:30. So
excellent.
With their music.
You can see the clock. I can't.
And so they've got about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And
we will listen to the Howell in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Brian and Lynn.
Yeah. Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Lynn came into your art show in Jacksonville, which was very nice.
And also Facebooked me some really fine art that he had done.
Yes, that's right.
So if Lynn's going to do a show anywhere, he needs to let us know.
Enjoying the CD, by the way.
Oh, thank you.